Live from tape, pre-recorded at our studios in Austin, Texas and Portland, Oregon, it's Syndicated with Lesley and Ben.
Are you out of your mind? You must be crazy.
I need a really big favor from you. Hi, I need the number for the Los Angeles Juvenile Diabetes Foundation or Association or whatever it is. I gotta go out and do some errands. I need you to go out and prepare the potato lady questions.
I have no idea how to do that.
That has never stopped me before. Just think of things that you would want to ask a potato lady.
That's all there is to it?
And put question marks at the end so Larry knows their questions. Hey everyone, it's Syndicated with Lesley and Ben. I'm the Ben of that.
And I'm the Lesley. This is a twice-monthly podcast about television, genre, and storytelling in which we watch an episode of a show and explore the history of television one episode at a time.
If you're just now tuning in, we're talking about The Larry Sanders Show, which debuted on HBO in 1992 and ran until 1998. The show came out at the height of the talk show wars when Arsenio Hall, David Letterman, Jay Leno, and Conan O'Brien held America's attention every evening from Ferned Studios and in front of live audiences. The show is the second television outing of the incredible Gary Shandling, who has just finished his meta sitcom, It's Gary Shandling Show. It features Gary as Larry Sanders, an exhausted late-night host that exists in kind of a meta competition with the other talk show hosts. That's actually one of the things I like about this show is they reference like real ongoing projects that would be happening during the year that this show came out.
Yeah.
It features the comedic talents of Rip Torn, who you may recognize as the voice of Zeus from Disney's Hercules and from his appearances on 30 Rock, of which I would argue this show is kind of a spiritual predecessor.
Yeah, definitely.
As Larry's show producer and Yes Man. And Jeffrey Tambor as Larry's sidekick, a la an Andy Richter for Conan O'Brien or an Ed McMahon for Carson. Tambor would, of course, later go on to Arrested Development, Transparent, and several allegations of workplace harassment and the death of Stalin. The cast also features Janine Garofalo of The Ben Stiller Show and Saturday Night Live, and Penny Johnson, who would be featured on both Deep Space Nine and Castle. Last but not least, the episode that we watched today was the Gift episode, in which the aforementioned Janine Garofalo, who plays talent booker Paula, thinks she's in danger of losing her job after Danny DeVito drops the show. Arthur attempts to get Larry to pay attention to a pressing structural issue with the studio, but Larry is far too distracted trying to order custom novelty gifts for his talk show guests. All of this while Paula keeps trying to get a hold of Mr. DeVito and his people. So, Lesley, this is my staff pick.
Yeah. I have to say, this is the first and only episode of this show that I've ever watched. I've never watched this show. I didn't know anything about it other than the fact that it starred Gary Shandling. That's the only thing that I was aware of because I'd heard the title of the show several times throughout my life, but had no idea what it was about. It was really interesting to me. The first thing that I realized when I turned it on, because I thought, it was just a sitcom, and then I turned it on and, it has a TVMA rating, and I was like, oh, there's going to be swears in this, and I got really excited. I think that...
They can put my face on that, right? They can put your cock on it.
Yeah, it was really great. And I think that it definitely, not censoring themselves, lent well to the conversational style of the dialogue on this show, which is something that I know you were super into and very excited to talk about.
Yeah, I actually only started watching this show after I had learned that Gary Shandling had passed. Because I remember seeing a lot of Twitter tributes to him upon people learning of his death. And I just, having read all of those, thought, oh, wow, this guy sounds, talented. I'll check this show out. Which, I mean, I'll be honest, as I do for a lot of media, when the main person who made it ends up passing. I get into a lot of things the year after the main entertainer dies.
That's how I got, technically no, I got into Elliott Smith about 6 months before he died, so that was fun.
Didn't get into Bowie until 2015 or 2017.
Well, that's okay because I didn't get into the Beatles or the Doors or anything really from that era until I was 19 or 20 years old. So I mean, whatever, it happens.
Yeah, whatever. It happens. But yeah, no, I had initially watched maybe 1.5 episodes back in 2016. Didn't care for it. I also could only, because it's HBO, could only watch it at my parents' house when I was there for the summer.
I see.
Or maybe just for Christmas. That might have been the biggest limiting factor. But also it is a kind of a brand of like very natural, non-punchline focused humor, and definitely anti-humor in some parts.
Super similar to Curb Your Enthusiasm in that way.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Where I don't know if that landed with 22-year-old Ben.
Understandable.
But almost 27 Ben loves it. But like I started rewatching it this summer, as we all have a little more time on our hands. And I found myself instantly glued to it, whether that's, the very, very natural writing to it, Rip Torn's weird Grinch face.
I would watch anything that Rip Torn is in. I think that the first thing I ever saw him in was probably Men in Black, but, I very much enjoy his work. And R.I.P. to Rip.
R.I.P. Yeah, no, I know. R.I.P. Rip Torn, and rest in peace, Gary Shandling. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know what I find engaging about the show. I think, because it doesn't constrain itself by, I don't know. I think the swearing very much helps it because, it feels like a hectic entertainment environment. And I guess I was realizing that I wanted earlier this summer to rewatch parts of 30 Rock. And then I just realized, this was 30 Rock, but done maybe about 10% better.
I think so. Yeah, I was definitely more entertained by it because to me it felt like there was something extremely quintessentially 90s about the conversational nature of the dialogue and the matter-of-fact way that everything was going. Like the antics in this episode, and I can only speak as someone who has only seen one episode of this show, which is part of this podcast's fun, but based on this episode, comparing it to 30 Rock, I feel like 30 Rock is a little bit zanier. Like I feel like this is all stuff in the Larry Sanders Show. This is all stuff that could very well have happened. Maybe elevated to kind of a caricature of late night talk shows, but not to a completely farcical level like 30 Rock has with some of its antics.
I was about to single out certain actors from 30 Rock, which I imagine we'll be talking about later this season as we talk about workplace comedies.
I'm sure. Well, especially now that we're talking about this one, we gotta.
Yeah, I'm sure one of our guests will bring it up.
Surely.
The Trinity really is The Office, Parks and Rec, and 30 Rock, right?
Yeah, I think so.
For at least for post-2000 stuff?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, all NBC. Congratulations, NBC. You're dominating the game.
Yeah. Well, and they still are.
Oh, yeah, Superstore and all that.
Oh, my God. I would love to talk about Superstore, but someday.
I'm sure it'll be brought up.
I hope so. Anyway.
Or we'll have excuse to talk about it, that is. Yeah, I was about to list single actors from 30 Rock that I thought, obviously, but like X and Y are doing very campy performances. And then I was like, no, that's about everyone, actually, on 30 Rock is doing very campy performances. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking especially Jack McBrayer and Tracy Morgan.
Yeah, but in this show, it definitely it felt very real. Like you mentioned before we started recording, we were just chatting about this, and you mentioned the aspect of it that was very, what did you say?
I said it's not a mockumentary, but it's like almost.
It was right on the tip of my brain what you said. Yeah, it's that it's not a mockumentary, but it's got a very similar feel to it. And so I find that kind of marriage of the mockumentary aura surrounding something that clearly is, being shot in the way that it's being shot, not in a mockumentary style, and that everything is presumably scripted. Probably some improv, but not to the level that The Office or Parks and Rec is. That makes it felt very comfortable to me. It was very easy to watch. It was very easy to laugh at a lot of the stuff that was going on. And another thing that you mentioned when we were chatting, Ben, is the fact that the show apparently frequently references and pulls from events that were actually happening at the time which is something that I think is another reason why it feels very authentic, and another reason why it does feel like such a 90s capsule. Because like this episode, for example, there's an earthquake that's damaged the studio, so they've had to like go to different stages to use it while the studio's being repaired. And so I was looking into this, and I guess that was actually referencing a real earthquake that actually happened around that time, called the Northridge quake.
Oh, yeah. What is this? 95?
94.
Or no, this would be 94.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because this was season 3, so yeah. Yeah, 94. So apparently that was referencing the Northridge quake. So I find it really, really interesting, and that's something that I always love in a show, and that I actually don't think that I've seen done very well, other than on Fresh Off the Boat. They do that really well also.
Oh, that's right, because that is a time capsule show.
Yeah, but they definitely reference real things that really happened in the 90s. Like in one episode, there's a B plot that surrounds the Barney float at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade deflating, which is a real thing that absolutely happened that year. So I just think they're neat. I just think it's really neat when you can just think they're neat. I think it's neat when you can look at a show and you can watch a show, and it's a different technique than breaking the fourth wall, but it's something that still pulls you in and makes you feel like you're part of this story, because you're like, oh yeah, I remember when this is happening.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is if breaking the fourth wall is breaking immersion by addressing the audience, this is the reverse. It is creating more immersion by setting it more firmly in your world.
Yeah, and I think that's really, really neat to do. I always really love it whenever a show or a film does that and uses because I can sit there and think, oh yeah, I remember when this happened, or oh, I think that was a thing. I mean, obviously not that I remembered the Northridge quake of 94, but it was just neat to get the feeling that this is something that could have happened. Like truly behind backstage after the show is over, that these are all things going on.
Yeah, it's one thing to reference, like the big events of any given year if you're creating a period piece, but it's another to like incorporate much more minor things like a singular earthquake or a weird incident at the Macy's, whatever, the Super Bowl halftime show that year.
I completely agree with you.
Not just like 1996. Quick, what happened? Clinton got elected, I guess. While
we're on the subject of inserting things that are real into these fictional worlds and kind of seemingly esoteric things, This Is Us actually did that insanely well. What they pulled off, I have never seen pulled off before in my life. So what
I know that This Is Us was America's TV darling for about 4 years straight.
Yeah. So what they did was they actually had an episode of the show called Super Bowl Sunday, and it was slated to air directly after the Super Bowl, like the real Super Bowl that year, the live one that everyone was watching. And somehow they managed to edit in that footage from the game that had just aired right before this show and put it into that episode of the show. And that was dope.
That would be... I guess you'd have like 3 hours turnaround time to do that?
If you chose stuff from the beginning, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, from the very beginning of the game up until air.
Yeah.
You would have minimum 3 hours to cut that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
I was very impressed when I watched that. Not to go off on a tangent, but props to them for that. That was dope.
Yeah. I guess maybe that's my enjoyment of it overall. It just feels very, very natural. Like even one of the lines I really enjoyed from this is when Hank Kingsley, who is Jeffrey Tambor's Ed McMahon character, as I just stack names on top of names there. But Hank Kingsley's getting pushed out of the room by Artie, the producer, about like, hey, are we ordering lunch or whatever? And you just hear him, it's kind of quiet, but you just hear him say like, well, as you know, I only have the one shake in the morning before the door's shut on his face.
I absolutely loved the whole lunch bit. I loved that entire bit. It was so, that was really, I think that you picked interestingly enough, even though it's like in the third season and it's not a particularly noteworthy episode, I guess.
It's just a casual episode.
Yeah, but you picked a really good one that I think highlights how masterfully they do that dialogue, because I was really, really hooked from the beginning, just from that Danny DeVito versus lunch conversation. It was really great.
Yeah, no, and all of them play it really well. All of them play it pretty smoothly. I can't quite figure out. There are definitely camera shots that would have included other cameras, so they have to do multiple takes of each scene.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's how television's made, but I mean, I don't know. It's a very fluid performance, even if it's all chopped up.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, hold on a second. I think we're ordering lunch.
Yeah, I only had the one shake in the morning.
I only have the one shake in the morning. I like it, and especially I like if I'm sure you noticed, the closer it gets to showtime, the more and more frantic, like the shorter the scenes get.
Yeah.
And it kind of had like a frantic pace toward the end. Especially love the frequent callbacks to the fact that Bev wrote the questions.
Yes.
Instead of Paula.
Yes.
You know, one time I did eat a raw potato and it was a very peculiar taste.
I really did love the fact that, again, another thing that just makes it feel very immersive and very real is the fact that aside from these characters, everybody else involved, other than someone who is a fictional character, is, you know, a real celebrity or a real personality. Like the Danny DeVito thing was brilliant. It was just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, 90s DeVito too.
Yeah. Peak DeVito. Well, I don't know. Always Sunny is pretty peak.
Congratulations to Danny DeVito in your 40-year nonstop hits career.
Right. Like, I feel like he just plopped onto the scene at his peak, and it's just been a 40-year peak. And I think that...
Oh, no, shit. Taxi came out in the 70s.
50 years? Almost?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, Danny DeVito is awesome.
Yeah, between this and Always Sunny and, you know, a film career in the 80s and 90s and Batman and Taxi and, yeah.
Everything that man touches.
Damn. And a film director. He's directed, 4 or 5 films?
I think so, yeah.
War of the Roses obviously gets mentioned in this movie.
Oh, man.
As we've mentioned, the natural aspects, the meta aspects.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, yeah, he keeps asking, no, did you hear that Arsenio gives out, full bathrobes with his face on the back or whatever? You know, he gets handed that Whoopi Goldberg mug.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how I feel about people putting lips on my head like this. You know, what does Letterman give out? You don't even want to know. Don't ask me that.
I thought it was so cool and fun and funny how he has to deal with studios that are literally collapsing around him, but he's far more concerned mostly about the merch. Like, he's mostly about the swag. He's mostly concerned about the swag. Like, he doesn't even seem to care that much about, you know, what Paula's managed to do with Danny DeVito, because she's lied to him the whole time. He's like, oh yeah, he's coming. So that's not on his radar at all. Meanwhile, she's like, I'm going to kill myself by 5:30, so it's going to be fine. You know, so just like seeing the difference between, I guess the disparity between an assistant and the host, in that the host is like, oh, can we put my face on these mugs? And she's like, I'll kill myself by 5:30, so it's fine that I didn't get Danny DeVito. Like, it was really, really funny to watch.
Yeah, not that anyone isn't an extremely highly salaried employee in this show.
Sure.
But I don't know, compare and contrast with 30 Rock. It is very much a case of the main actor and the 2 executive producers getting in. I guess that's kind of what this show is too. But we also, talk to the writing team and the talent booker, and well, no, I guess they do the same thing in 30 Rock. Never mind.
Well,
I don't know. It feels like you get more all levels of this organization.
I think that it's because, once again, you see more of the administrative things that are going on backstage and behind the scenes, whereas in 30 Rock, a lot of it is based on that. It starts there, but they elevate it to such a zany level, and everything that's going on is just so batshit, more or less, that it doesn't feel as real. So I think that's why.
No, it certainly doesn't.
I think that's why you're getting the thought process or the feeling that there's quote unquote more, because it feels like you're getting a more authentic view into the industry, I think. With this show.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. It's a little stripped. I mean, because again, 30 Rock has like Scrubs-esque like flashback sequences.
Yeah, and I do think that 30 Rock is more accessible to the general public. I think that
certainly.
I think that the Larry Sanders Show it's a little niche. It is a little bit niche for sure. And if you're not super interested in the entertainment biz, which is not that was a thing in the 90s. Like that alone, the very concept of the subject of this show is so aggressively 90s because
I want to get to that in just a second.
Yeah, and which we'll get to in just a moment, but I do think that these days it would be a little niche, and the reason why 30 Rock is formulated the way that it is because of the fact that it needed to appeal to the lay people of the 2000s.
Sure. I think it's super cemented in the format of this show that they are making a late night talk show. Mm. Whereas 30 Rock is just they're making television. Yeah. And it's kind of doesn't matter that they're making Saturday Night Live. Because they're just making television. And it's about like NBC's fake, or NBC Universal's fake upper echelon politics. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a bunch of other weird stuff. But I don't know. I think I haven't seen 30 Rock in a number of years, but I think that show becomes less about literally making the girl show. Girly show? What is it?
Girly show,
TGS?
I think? Yeah. Well, yeah, it ended up being TGS. So.
Yeah, I think it becomes less about literally making Saturday Night Live.
Right.
And more about, dealing with Tracy's weird antics.
That's true.
And that whole episode in which there was like a leap day king.
It's kind of
leprechaun man.
Kind of like how kind of like what happened with Urkel on Family Matters.
Kind of, sort of.
Which there's a Key and Peele skit about, which is pretty great.
Oh, I am firmly of the camp that I think the first 5 seasons of 30 Rock are good, and then that show is a different show. But we'll get to it eventually, I guess.
Yeah. So back to the Larry Sanders Show. We were talking about it being so aggressively 90s, and I know that you have a lot of opinions about late night television. So late night talk shows in particular.
Well, kind of, sort of. It's weird being born in 94, which means I watched none of it.
Yeah.
I didn't watch Letterman in his prime. I didn't watch Leno in his prime. Any of that. The only late night I ever watched would probably be, after I was 12, so 2006 or 2007. I never watched any of those guys in their prime, but I can certainly recognize, what was happening in that era. And, they keep going back to it. Another episode that I was considering showing you was the one which basically Larry has to pick the guy that comes after him every night. Okay. I don't know the lineup of the current guys, I'm realizing. But, whatever. There's like a 10:30 p.m. slot, and then there's like an 11:30 p.m. slot. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know the exact lineup either, but I know it involves like Jimmy Fallon and fucking Smithy.
Well, we'll get to that, because I got a point about that.
Okay. James Corden. I called him Smithy from Gavin and Stacey. It was like the first thing I
was wondering there.
Yeah, it's an old British show. Don't worry about
I
it.
know that's where he's from. Yeah.
His character's name was Smithy on that show, so every time I think of him, I'm like, fucking Smithy. So.
Bustopher Jones, I believe, is what he wants to go by now.
That's not. That movie's not real. That movie's not real. Did you see? Okay. Did you see?
No.
Okay, fine. But no, somebody.
I respect myself, Leslie.
Okay, well, I went to watch Cat's High. It was great. But what I was actually going to say was, did you see that someone took the trailer for the new Batman film and put the Cats audio on top of it for the Cats trailer? Art. High art.
Folks, now you know when we recorded this.
Yeah, it was right around the time.
About a week after that trailer came out.
After the Batman trailer. All right.
But yeah, no, I mean, I certainly know of all of these guys. Two of them, I guess, Leno and Letterman, went on to continue to be cultural icons. Mm-hmm. I mean, Arsenio, I guess, still is, but obviously didn't have an active show. But when it came my time to start watching television. But yeah, no, he has to pick the he has to pick his successor or whatever, and he's going through a bunch of different options, and eventually he runs into David Letterman at the Emmys, and his show is encountering the exact same problem, and he's basically trying to like bully Letterman in person to telling him who they're picking so he can counter strategy.
Oh, I see.
And then what he ends up doing is he ends up picking the exact same guy and offering him that role. And it appears to have been a bluff on Letterman's end, etc.
Oh, wow.
There's let's see, I think it's Hank tries to replace Regis at one point. Like Regis's contract is coming up, so Hank tries to jump ship so that he can get the daytime slot.
I see.
It's about like this show, even though the show was put out by HBO, it seems like they're owned by NBC because they will literally say stuff like Seinfeld is shooting on this lot.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's really interesting. I hadn't considered that. That's really interesting. Yeah. However, if it hadn't been on HBO, then we wouldn't have gotten the swears. So
we wouldn't have gotten the swears, no. But yeah, like literally, they at one point they visit the Seinfeld set. Jason Alexander, Michael Richards, and Jerry Seinfeld have all been on episodes that I've seen so far. I'm actually only halfway through this show because it's my summertime watch. But no, I don't know. It just feels very firmly grounded in the era it's set in.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Which I guess brings me to a question for you, Leslie, which is, what's your relationship with the 90s talk show game?
So
do you have one?
I didn't really watch a lot of them in the 90s because I was, let's see, in 94, I was 11 in 94. And so I was a little too young to watch a lot of them. But the thing is, the late night talk shows in the 90s were so huge as a form of entertainment for adults. You have to understand, we didn't have the internet really. Like, you kind of did, but you had like a computer room with a big computer on a desk that...
Oh, I had that, don't worry.
Yeah, so, well, I think some of our listeners may be children. So.
Oh, the youths, I understand.
The youths, yes. Yeah, they might be the youths.
But for what it's worth, I did have a dedicated computer room in my parents' house.
So we used to, children, gather around, and I'll tell you about a phenomenon known as the computer room, in which you would have one computer that didn't fold up or anything. It just sat there, and you would sit there and you would wait for it to connect to the internet, which is plugged into the wall, blah, 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 can't use your phone during it, all of that jazz. So because the internet was not really a form of entertainment in the same way that it is now, and social media didn't exist, and all of that stuff didn't really exist back then, late night talk shows were the thing that adults did when their kids went to bed or what have you. So because of that, in the 90s, late night talk show hosts were huge celebrities. Like, I know now it kind of seems like they're still having their day because we know who Jimmy Fallon is, we know who James Corden is, all of that. But it's not that, I'm telling you, it's not the same. It's not the same. Like, I was well aware of who these late night talk show hosts were because it was just a form of, it's like you have film actors, you have musicians, you got late night talk show hosts. Like, they were up there, man. Leno was in People magazine constantly, which I did read a lot of. So that's the exposure was there. Me actually watching the content. I mean, I didn't know what the shows were like at all, except that they did interviews with people. But the exposure to the personalities was absolutely a huge part of my childhood.
By their very nature, unless you were reading like dedicated entertainment magazines, they are culture curators.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're how you hear about upcoming movies and albums.
And this is why I find the Larry Sanders Show to be such a refreshing delight, because it really highlights how very important late night talk shows and talk show programming is to success, to projects becoming successful. Like, at one point, Paula is talking to DeVito, and she's like, "Don't you have this movie that you're doing that you don't you want to talk about that?" Like, it was just a different time, man. Which was Junior, right?
Junior, yeah, which is the Schwarzenegger co-project.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah. Well.
That was twins. They were in multiple movies together. Schwarzenegger and DeVito were in 2 movies together, I guess. Junior and twins. Well, I'll be damned.
Visually, folks, Leslie's having a moment. Actually, that did bring something to my attention, is during this episode, you and I are both big MCU fans. You know how Marvel movies are scheduled 4 years in advance?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, July 22nd, 2025, if we make it there as a culture, there will be a 5th Ant-Man movie. We'll hope. We hope. It was very funny to hear when DeVito is being introduced, Larry Sanders go, his new movie, Junior, which should be out in time for the holidays.
Yeah. And it did come out in 94 as well, so it was pretty... I think that was the first... I'm seeking the word, not anachronistic, because that means out of its time, but that was the first...
Antiquated.
Thank you. Thank you. Please don't make me sound like I had to struggle for that word. That's what you're editing for. That was the first indicator to me that of an antiquated concept that he's describing how Junior is coming out soon, so it's very meta, because it was true. It came out in 94, and part of it maybe was a little bit saying, "Hey, Danny, you want to come on my show about talk shows?" And we'll name drop Junior a couple of times. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's the meta aspect of that. Very chef's kiss.
Oh, and I just mean how they algorithmically plan the box office, years in advance, and then he says it should be out in time for the holidays, I guess.
Oh, well, yeah, that was a different time.
Different time. They're just shooting for, because less competition. They're just shooting for a December-ish release.
Yep.
And so it's just so funny to think that's not locked in.
Yeah.
At least 2 years in advance.
Yeah, it's crazy to consider.
Because it's such a territory game now where no, this Friday belongs to Disney.
Yeah, and I also feel like a lot of the time, whether or not a project gets greenlit is highly dependent on when they want it to be released, which is bananas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anywho.
So here's a weird, interesting kind of cultural dichotomy, though. Is you have this era of major celebrities, which I was alive during as well, obviously. Because, Letterman and Leno, etc., all ended their shows, whatever, as I was leaving high school, I guess. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. Compare and contrast with what I have right now. Every single network has at least 2 of these late night shows. And I think they have done, look, as is the case with a lot of things in the streaming era, I think the market has been so incredibly diluted. Which isn't, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a bad thing, maybe it's not, but every person who was on The Daily Show in 2010 now has their own show.
That's true. That is very, no, that's not true. The one that matters doesn't have his own show. I'm just saying, Jon Stewart, come back.
Oh, okay, yes. Sorry, I meant other than the main guy who had his own show for 12 years.
I know what you meant. I'm just saying, it's Jon Stewart.
But genuinely, there's a little bit of overload.
It's very true, because what is it? Samantha Bee had or has her own show. Mo Rocca did.
Full Frontal, yeah. Yeah,
Full Frontal. Mo Rocca did. John Oliver, obviously. Yeah. That's.
Oh, I absolutely mean The Daily Show specifically, but I also mean, there's Colbert and Corden. Mm-hmm. There's Kimmel and Fallon. Mm-hmm. There's who's after Kimmel at night.
I don't know. Let's find out.
Conan's on TBS, John Oliver's on HBO every Sunday.
So,
the Patriot Act only just ended.
Yeah,
but you see what I'm getting at. There's just so many of these guys.
It looks like...
all men.
Yeah, and they're all men, except for Samantha Bee. So it looks like... Hold on. I have to look and see, because I must know. So you said after... I don't know. And I can't see this as easily, so I'm not even... Oh, I see. Jimmy Kimmel's on ABC, so nobody comes on after him because he's in the 11:35 slot. After him is Nightline.
Was anyone before him?
Nope. World News. Well, actually, I lied. Not that I can see, because I guess we're going on a tangent here. It doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, but that's the point. Is like there's just so many. Each of the big networks has like two. Mm-hmm. Everyone who was ever on the Daily Show has something for a streaming service now.
It's very true.
Larry Wilmore had a show. Craig Ferguson had a show.
Yeah, he did.
I'm now mixing up past and present a little bit, but what I'm saying is the 2010s and the early 2020s are absolutely rife with these late night shows, and so it's not like a big, triple three.
Yeah.
Arsenio, Letterman, and Leno.
Yeah.
Like it ever was. It is now... That market is now fragmented into... And I'm sure, the big three are still getting big three attention.
Oh, sure.
But that market is now fragmented into like 15 parts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually do kind of feel like with the oversaturation of hosts in the late night world that we have definitely seen a decline in the quality.
Oh, absolutely. Well, because, that is the criticism leveled at Fallon, is that, like, he's the guy who loves everything. Mm-hmm. He wants to be America's best friend, and he loves everything that he's asked to promote on the show, including certain presidential candidates that he fluffed the hair of, very famously. I know. But, therefore, it's not, like, cultural curation in the same way. Mm-hmm. Because, he'll just promote whatever needs to be promoted.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas, not that this show is real, the show we're talking about, but, Artie literally says, like, oh, no, I know that rock band. I liked their first album and found their second album disappointing.
Yeah, yeah.
Under the guise of fiction, there's at least a personal connection to the material or whatever. But, you can get the truly for everyone content of, like, Fallon. You can get the kind of weirder, more esoteric stuff of Conan or whatever. Mm-hmm. You can get your specifically political stuff if you want to watch John Oliver or Samantha Bee. You can get, whatever, what I'm saying? There's like gradations of, what you're looking for. And I'm sure I'm sure there's YouTuber late night shows that I've never heard of.
Yeah. Well, I'm not hip with the kids, so I don't really know. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know that I've heard of any of that, but I'm positive it exists. So
yeah, sure. I'm sure Netflix or Hulu or any of the shows has a late night, recorded earlier in the day stream show that other people are huge fans of that I've never heard of.
Well, and obviously they had to adjust to the streaming age because now people aren't sitting in front of their TVs at a specific time. Like people are catching Last Week Tonight with John Oliver during their lunch break, like it's not the way that it used to be.
Yeah, much to my mother's disappointment, because this weirdly comes up a lot. I know I don't watch TV Live, and I haven't watched TV Live for years.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't watch TV Live either. My mom is shocked that I don't watch the news because she's like, I don't understand, where do you get your news from? And I was like, the internet? I don't like. I don't.
A variety of sources.
Yeah, like I don't have to sit down in front of a television and watch the news. Like it comes to me. Like I get push notifications from my phone, and then I know what the news is. Like I don't.
My mom will always say, like, hey, there's something really cool on, like, PBS or Turner Classic Movies right now.
And I'm like, the fuck is that? I don't have access to any of that shit.
Television.
Yeah, yeah.
That sounds interesting, but I don't have immediate access to that, sorry.
Right, tell me what it is, and I'll look it up and see if it's streaming somewhere. That's what I always do.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, tell me what it is, and I'll look and see where it's streaming.
Yeah. Anyway, all of this to say, it's just, I think... it's with the market being as fragmented as it is now, and with the people who are, famous, weirdly, all the big names are as big because they were also doing work during this time.
Yeah.
Conan has been on the air for 30 years.
Well, there was the conflict 10 years ago.
I do, yeah. The
late night conflict.
Where Jay Leno dropped The Tonight Show, named Conan his successor. And due to a combination of lower ratings, because Conan's humor is a little less than mainstream, And I guess, NBC just wanted more money, pretty much.
Yeah.
They're like, and by which I mean they didn't want to risk, seeing if the show could fly on its own.
Yeah.
Put Leno back. It sounded like there was going to be more of that sentence, but they just put Leno back.
Yeah, they just put Leno back, and then that did not work, and everyone was mad, and Conan O'Brien ended up winning that one. He ended up...
They basically fired Conan after like a month and a half.
It was about a month and a half. It was not a lot of time. And people were pissed.
People were. Conan, I remember, famously didn't he have like a non-compete clause?
I think so.
So like he wasn't able to go to TBS for like a year.
Yes, that is true. And so during that year, that's when he got his Twitter account, and that's when he just started posting whatever the fuck he wanted. And he grew a beard and all this other stuff, and became like a really huge hit on social media because he was able to adapt to the current times from how things used to be. And Leno was a dinosaur who couldn't do that, so people were like, "Fuck this shit," and Conan won. So there you go.
Yeah. And then of course the Tonight Show eventually won too, as we've already discussed. Fallon.
Yep. Not that this has really anything to do with anything other than it being very tangentially related, but I do feel like we would be remiss to not mention this particular mark on the late night talk show world as we're having a podcast episode about the inner workings of late night talk shows.
Yeah, well, we're certainly never really going to have a season where we watch individual episodes of Letterman.
That's never going to happen, y'all. It's never going to happen. So I would never do that. Well, okay. And speaking of which, actually, Letterman came out with that limited series.
Which I believe it's just called Letterman.
It had some name that's very... Yeah.
Or Live with Letterman or something like that.
Hold on, I'm looking it up.
My next guest needs introduction with David Letterman.
Yeah. But then I learned that David Letterman is a big piece of shit, so I don't watch his stuff anymore. Not that I really ever watched it, but, if it was on my TV back then, okay, he's fine. He's not fine. He's a piece of shit, and so I don't watch his stuff anymore. But that is another example of somebody adapting honing their specific skill set into the now streaming.
We have been cycling a little, talking about the late night game, both past and present. Mm-hmm. And I want to just reiterate my point that there are so many right now that the market is a little shattered and it's hard to keep track of these. By saying that at no point did either of us remember that Seth Meyers...
Oh my God, he does have his own talk show!
Seth Meyers has an entire ass show after Colbert.
Totally fucking forgot that Seth Meyers has a show. Like, for really real. like not just on SNL as not like jokes, but he's got a real talk show.
I'm sorry, wait, no, hold up. Seth Meyers is on NBC. Whatever. The point is there's so fucking many of them. That's all I'm getting at.
Oh, you're saying that he's not after because he's on a different network.
Yeah, he's not after Colbert. He's after that. But that's what I'm getting at. There's so fucking many of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing. I mean, look, we're not here to discuss real life late night talk shows because that's not what I was asked to know about today.
No, certainly. But that's just the general thing. It's so weird that this show is a throwback to, the era in which there were like 5.
I guess that it's kind of like
Arsenio, Letterman, Leno, and then if you go into daytime, like Regis and Oprah.
Yeah, and Jerry Springer.
But yeah. I, to this day, don't understand what that show was.
I don't really know what happened. It used to be super serious, and then something happened, and it turned into whatever that is.
Whatever that is. Is it still ongoing?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That's another very 90s phenomenon. That was a very 90s phenomenon.
So is there anything you want to talk about specifically with regards to Larry Sanders? I know that we mentioned Rip Torn. I just do want to shout out Rip Torn's incredibly weird face.
I love his weird, sexy face.
There was one bit, I don't remember what it was. Janine Garofalo says something, and it just does like a reverse cut back to him. He has his eyebrow spiked way up, doing like a Grinch face, going, "Hey now," or "Watch it."
I love his weird, sexy face.
There are so many times in this show in which he's basically Larry's like permanent yes man. In addition to being the producer, he's not yes man like he's agreeing to every decision, but he is a yes man like he's constantly like, "Yo, you did a wonderful job during that show. Oh, one of the best you've done," or whatever.
He's a hype man.
And then Larry will say something like, "No, I didn't like the segment with Sharon Stone," or whatever.
Right.
He'll be like, "You're right. It was bad. It was garbage." You know.
Yeah.
He'll constantly, he's just there to reflect whatever Larry's feeling at the moment. And he's so fucking expressive. Yeah, just the weird eyebrow stuff he does. Folks,
I love it.
I'm sure we'll put a clip in there, probably from this episode, but I'll make sure to find a excellent example of weird Rip Torn face to include in the episode notes of the show.
I love his weird, sexy face.
All right, Leslie.
Look, I have a type, and that type is very strange. So
Apparently.
What do you mean by that, Ben?
That's not a dig at anyone either of us know.
I was like, I have a partner now. What are you trying to say, man?
No, I'm talking about your celebrity crushes.
Oh yeah, those are just really off the wall, and I'm aware.
Folks,
I'm aware.
Folks, go back through episodes of Horses and Men. I'm not going to tell you which ones.
Just go back through. We talk about, and I promise that it'll probably get, actually, starting with episode 2. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Starting Rip Torn is celebrity number 1 that I am lusting after, even though I should not. So it is very weird, sexy face.
Oh, you know what? Speaking of BoJack Horseman, Paul F. Tompkins had a late night show for a while.
Oh yeah, he did. You're right.
With puppets. Mm-hmm. Anyway. There's so many of them. That's all I'm getting at.
As far as anything else specifically to say about the Larry Sanders Show, I can't think of anything else that I want to say that hasn't already been said. Like I said, I was very involved right away because of the authentic dialogue. I absolutely loved Janine Garofalo in this episode as well. She pulled off the exasperation and then desperation of an assistant incredibly well. It's a great show. It was good pick, Ben. Good pick.
Thank you. I'm really glad I gave it a second shot earlier this summer. I think it feels like a realistic work environment.
Yeah, really, you just needed to get a real job first, Ben. That's what it boils down to, is you just needed to have a real job first.
Yeah, maybe. Actually, yeah, 22 Ben had only worked like 2 places, and neither of them were as complicated as this.
Yeah.
I worked for like a weird small family business and then like a law firm. So anyway. Yeah, no, I don't know. It's really naturalistic. It feels like a real office environment. I don't know. It feels so much less canned than other shows of its era, or even okay. Because when I think of 30 Rock, I think of Liz Lemon in like medium close up, background behind her blurred.
Yeah. It's very produced. 30 Rock is very produced, and I feel like the Larry Sanders Show, starring Gary Shandling, is not very produced. It feels very gritty. It feels very real. Yeah.
I don't know. When I think of 30 Rock, I think of, scene begins. Jack, you can't do this. It feels very tight television, whereas sometimes scenes end in this show throughout where I'm like, oh, I guess that's the end of that scene.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for example, just the lunch conversation at the very beginning. It's like, oh, no, we're talking about something else now. Like, that actually kind of threw me for a loop at the very beginning. I was like, oh, I guess that scene's over, and we're on to the next one now. And
scene's over. Well, that's another thing, is like the end gag of so many of these episodes are very much. I did very much like the end gag in this one, and I think that's one of the stronger end gags, where Larry seems to be disappointed by tomorrow's lineup until Janine Garofalo throws out, and we've got Sting.
I love a good end gag. I love a really smart, good end gag, and that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
I will say that the end gags in this show are very smart, but sometimes they're pretty subtle. and they're not always like a laugh out loud punchline ending. It's sometimes just like, you know, you can infer what either of them are thinking, or you know, Larry will just kind of do a you know, sort of realization at something, and then just, you know, that kind of 90s trumpety sound comes in. You know, that's the Gary Shandling show, you know, as it fades out and does the credits over like still frame footage of him doing his kind of exhausted sigh. I don't know. It's just so weird. There's not always punchlines in the show. I don't know. I like that kind of humor.
Me too. I actually recently watched The Great for the first time, and I was told that it was a very funny show, and it is, but it's not funny in like the belly laugh way. It's funny in the, I see exactly what they did, and that's incredibly clever, and I am very amused. And like that's what's going through your head as you're watching it. And I felt the same way watching this episode of this show a lot of the time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd highly encourage you to watch some more. It's a quality program.
Maybe I will.
There's an entire arc where Hank is trying to use the funds from this show to open up his own restaurant with a rotating floor.
Okay.
Larry tries to quit like every 5 episodes so we can move off to Montana and just become a fisherman.
All right, I'll watch it. Spoilers.
It's a blast. I'm saying it's a good program. That's why I picked it as my staff pick. Lesley, I think that does it for us.
Sure does.
Folks, my name is Ben Hamlin. You can find me online. I'm BenChamlin. That's Ben C. Hamlin over on the internet. Lesley, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter mostly at Vanetti, Vanetti, where I have lots of fun conversations about television and ageism and lots of fun stuff.
All right.
Today's feature was ageism. That was the star of the day today.
Yeah, I guess so. So yeah, folks, you can find us both at Infinity Break 23. That is infinitybreak.net, where we're telling stories our own way. You can check out my other show, Parascience, over on infinitybreak.net, and I also feature heavily in Legends of Laia, so why don't you check that out as well. You can find all of our podcasts over there. I highly encourage you to check them out. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/Infinity Break, where you can get behind-the-scenes segments from this very show, as Lesley and I tangent on all sorts of nonsense. I don't know what I'm cutting out of this one, but I'm sure it'll be an absolute treat that can be yours for as little as $1 a month. Lastly, as we are in the very first weeks of this show, now is the time to help spread the word. Leave reviews, all that jazz. If you're listening to this in the distant future, as we are several seasons into the show, it's still a good time to tell your friends and leave a review. But it's very critical at the beginning when the algorithm is, getting set up and it rewards a lot of interaction early. You know what I mean? So we highly encourage you to leave a review, tell your friends, share the link around. I'm really excited to do the show. That's the end of our staff picks. So I know we have a season ahead of workplace comedies. I know for a fact that we're at least talking about Slings and Arrows and Better Off Ted this season.
Such good choices.
I'm sure we'll be talking about 30 Rock more at length. I don't know about you. I kind of want to avoid The Office.
I feel like
other shows instead.
We can hold off on that one, I think.
All I'm saying is that it's been covered.
I also think that we're probably going to talk a little bit about The Office in every episode, so we probably don't need to focus on it specifically for one.
Yeah, for sure. Even I will say, even The Office feels more canned than this.
It does, yeah. It just feels more polished. Anyway, we're supposed to be done with this episode, Ben.
We're supposed to be wrapping up. I know. Anyway, you have a fun season ahead. Lesley and I each have 2 more staff picks coming down the line. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you in 2 weeks' time.
See you later.